A very good evening and welcome to the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna and Indar speaking to you this Friday evening when there is so much excitement lined up today and over the weekend when the IPL is beginning to kick off. But there was no less excitement today. It's been a packed news day and we have a lot of stuff lined up for you on the show. Google dropping Paytm over violations of gambling policies has become quite a storm. The app has now been restored, but earlier in the day when the news came out, people's first thought was, what about their money and is it safe? The clarifications came quickly enough that this was only for new downloads. Existing users wouldn't have any problem of any sorts. Then Vijay Shekhar Sharma comes out and talks about how this move shows Google's tight control over the app ecosystem. Now, the app has been restored on the Play Store and one can assume that all is back to normal, but all is not necessarily well. The whole incident has raised a couple of very crucial questions. One of them being that are Indian apps and the Indian startup ecosystem overly dependent on platforms that seem to have all the control in the world. Before we get into a discussion on this, and I have Arvind Gupta with me on the show, I want to play out for you a clip of Vijay Shekhar Sharma's interview to ET Now.
Somewhere Google policy says, according to what they wrote to us, and I quote it here, that a customer is paying, when a customer is paying on, let's say, a mother dairy, or you paying to person, and you're giving them a sticker, and based on sticker, you are giving them a cashback. Okay. And this is called gambling. If giving a cashback for payment is called gambling, I'm not going to say a word here, except that this is something as a new surprise to me, my friend. And in this all battle, the judge and the jury and the defendant and claimant, everybody is one. That is Google. So we are waiting for them to tell us. We've just removed the cashback promotion game. So we just launched a few days back a cricket game where when you pay a store or a shop or anyone, and you get a sticker, cricket sticker. Once you collected 5 stickers, we give you $50. Once you collected 10 stickers, we give you $100, and they call it a gambling. I mean, this is a little outrageous to me, that how could it be even defined as a gambling? I mean, giving a cashback is a gambling. Okay, I get it. Now, because the platform is owned, controlled, and governed by them, so it is. We don't have any respite or any other place to go. What they tell us, we do that. It's Google's world, my friend. It is not Aatmanirbhar Bharat. It's Google-Nirbhar Bharat. We can't have Aatmanirbhar Bharat.
Google-Nirbhar Bharat is what you're saying. So after this, after take...
It is because we may have multiple operators, but we have only one most dominating, extraordinary, dominating and powerful one operating system in this country, and that is Google. It happened when Microsoft used to be, if you remember. Well, something has to be done. I can show you the screenshot, my friend. You should see what they have shared, and you can get that screenshot shared from me right now, and you can read it, and then you can say, "Oh, this is called gambling." Oh, wow! You can read it. You can
Vijay
see it
Shekhar Sharma, what happened? What exactly happened? Did you get, and I'm going to take the screenshot from you, did you get one warning from Google, second warning, or was the only warning about banning the app?
One warning on this. Read this. You can win prizes worth 5 crore. How to play. You can see this. Recharge and pay at shop. Transfer money. Correct? Are you seeing that? And this is the email they have sent. Okay. And read this. They say this offer where the benefits are restricted. They say this offer is called gambling. This is called gambling according to them.
Okay, so clearly that was a very agitated Vijay Shekhar Sharma, and I must tell you that interview was before Google restored Paytm to its Play Store. So all is well for now, but larger questions, as I mentioned, have been raised. And to speak to me on this is Arvind Gupta. He's joining us now. He's head of the Digital India Foundation, was heading the BJP's IT department, and was also instrumental in the whole Modi campaign of 2014. So well versed, of course, with the space. Mr. Gupta, thank you so much for speaking with us. I just want to get your sense on how this has been positioned by Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma as an assault of sorts on the Indian ecosystem. If you look at it very straightforwardly, Google has a set of rules and terms and conditions. If there is a violation, they flag it off, and it's within their right to suspend you because you exist on their platform.
Well, Tamanna, these are bigger questions that one needs to understand. Number one is, I won't go to the extent of what Vijay has been calling as a Google-Nirbhar Bharat. India is a digital superpower right now with its own infrastructure in many things, and Google actually rides on top of the UPI, which is Google Pay, and that's where the dominant power of Google comes into play, and that's where we need to discuss the actions that they've taken. Vijay can come on this channel and talk about Paytm being taken down, some part of Paytm being taken down, and it will go back up. The real big question is how does Google operate, and what kind of market monopolistic powers it has over this whole app ecosystem, the application layer with which users interact with the platforms and the phones and everything else. So, you rightly said, I mean, every company has a policy, but I think I follow the rule that countries have policies. So if country level diktats happen, or a country level regulation or a policy violation happens, a legal issue happens, that's primary, number one. Two, then the company, which is localized to their Play stores or their platforms, that's the secondary thing. It's a subset of the country policies, or it subsumes into the country policies, and then definitely there is consumer interest and consumer rights and everything else. You have to look at everything with these three lenses and with three perspectives. Clearly, what if you go by what Paytm has been saying, that they didn't violate anything, and Google is the judge, the jury, and the educator. I think that is correct. But that's what platforms are. They have exercised this collaborative monopoly with the phone getting pre-bundled with the operating system, with the Play Store, all together for many, many years. And and this is not just in India; it's everywhere else in the world. I mean, you look at what happened between Apple and Google removing Epic Games and prohibiting it from operating with the respective Play Store. So we have to understand they exercise a huge monopolistic power over app developers, the ecosystem players, and a lot of time their algorithms and their policies are very non-transparent.
So Arvind, tell me. So Arvind, I want to understand very specifically. I mean, this is well known that Google and Apple and all of these large players are like powers unto themselves, sometimes superseding what a nation's laws are, because they exist in a different ecosystem altogether. So I want to understand where you see this going. Are you saying that it's time for an alternate for the Indian app ecosystem, because it is completely dependent on these platforms? If the platforms so wish, they will not exist from tomorrow, and we just have to have faith that they will have transparent measures and will play fair.
So there is a call out for, as we have built many of our own platforms, there is a need to build an integrated platform and debundle the phone with the operating system and the Play Store. So when you debundle things with the three things, you basically are, the platform is a platform today because you have a phone, you have an operating system on top of it, and with the operating system comes a Play Store. So if you debundle them and then still, and this is where Google gets into a lot of complex CCI violations, is because everything comes bundled in. And once it comes bundled in, it really doesn't present a lot of choices to developers as well as consumers. And and you're right. I mean, I have to agree with you that that's where we need options and consumer choices. But this is where the tough battles are, and that's where I think bigger public goals have to come into play, and bigger like the way we build out India stack or the Aadhaar stack, some public good approach has to be taken. Otherwise, these platforms, whether it's Google or the Apple platform, they'll continue to rule the roost. And I must add here that there is a threat always to the startup ecosystem when this happens, because you expect Google and companies like that to play fair, and they do. But imagine a small startup struggling to put their apps on the ecosystem on these platforms, and while Paytm, as I said, can be heard, and this is not the first time they've done this. A few months ago, when the Arogya Setu application was launched and everybody was asked to integrate with Arogya Setu, they actually removed MobiKwik, they removed Paytm also at that point in time, saying that the government is asking app developers, the prominent apps, to have a link to Arogya Setu, but they brought down, for example, MobiKwik. And because it was having an external link to Arogya Setu to download Arogya Setu. So there is a lot of times that Google and companies like Google act in a very, very arbitrary, opaque, non-transparent manner, and we need to call them out there, but also bring out a bigger policy of fairness and competition. And while we are building our own platforms, so it takes a long time to build platforms, but while we are building our own platforms, we need to have a fairer policy around this.
Also it changes the whole sort of system. If every nation starts building its own platform, if every nation starts building its own platform, you're actually moving in a different direction. But I have one more question for you, Mr. Gupta. Do you think the story ends here? That it was all a bit of a storm in a teacup on Friday, where Paytm got kicked out of Google, and then there was a bit of a hue and cry, and they're back. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
My next question was: do you think it all ends here? That this was all? Yeah. Do you think it all ends here? That this was all a bit of a storm in a teacup on a Friday, where Paytm got removed, and Vijay Shekhar Sharma said it's not fair. Now they're back again, and it ends here. Do you think the story ends here, or do you think this gives rise to the need for a closer look to what's happening? Remember, Paytm is also, in a sense, a payments bank. So then there's the regulator involved. There are so many parties involved here.
Well, you're right. I mean, there are three aspects to it. As I said, the consumer is a very important aspect. You can't, something that is part of a licensed operation, you can't take it away. But then if they do a lot of, Paytm also is trying to operate in a lot of other adjacent areas. They're no longer just a bank any longer. So I think Paytm will have to, debundle their apps also, and and if they want that regulatory protection that they're operating under, and also on the other hand, whether it's Google or Apple or other Play stores, we'll need to have a slightly more fairer policy, and that's where our own digital policies need to be relooked at. This world is changing so fast that I think a policy redesign for this new age media and new age startups is very highly required. Today, many times platforms and companies, you take an example of a company like Amazon, which you don't even know, who can, there's so many different parts to it, who will govern them, from Prime to payments to e-commerce to cloud to infrastructure. So music, so there is so many different components to these companies, and Google is one of them. So I think the point I'm trying to make is policy and regulation needs to take into account this new age considerations, this new age competition. Two, startups, as they're building the application layer, also need to think about the layer underlying it, which is the app layer and the operating system layers, and build their own, Indianized platforms. We have a lot of competency. And thirdly, I think we need to understand that these behaviors, while maybe triggered by algorithms, many times, and that's the excuse that Google and Facebook and all these other companies give, that there is algorithmic decision making. What we are seeing is in the algorithmic decision making, the big players can get their apps back on the system. The smaller startups, the newcomers really get hurt by these policies, and it's very, very expensive for them to come back once they're off the platform.
Yes.
So, and that really hurts the startup ecosystem.
Absolutely. So a level playing field.
Absolutely,
yes.
a level playing field
yes,
is
a level playing
required.
field is definitely required, and more nuanced thought to this.
And a big culprit in this.
Yeah.
And a big
Thank you
culprit
so
in
much,
this.
Arvind Gupta. Yeah. No, finish your point.
Now, a big culprit in this is a lot of pre-bundling. We saw that in the extent of a lot of applications which were banned in India. They were coming pre-bundled with phones, with the operating system. So I think one of the things we need to also look at, and which I know the government is looking at, is to look at what can be pre-bundled and what cannot be. So I think a lot more proactive regulation, policymaking is coming about, and we need to look at these aspects also while we go about it. Thank you.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Arvind Gupta there talking about the Paytm Google fight, and we'll have to see if there's more to it, or it's all kiss and make up after what has transpired today. But bigger questions at play.